Hi everyone, it's Becky here from Ivy's Corner, and I am here with a very special little step out lesson. I am going to draw for you the brand new Zentangle Tangle, which is called Trikl, which has just been released officially by Zentangle HQ. It was first I suppose, released to the world at a CZT event in Southeast Asia by Rick and Maria earlier this year. And I did see it at the time, and I saw how people had been using it, and I wondered how it was stepped out. And now it's been released by HQ, so I thought I would give you a little rundown of how to draw it. So here we go. In front of me I have, rather than my little mini tiles, I thought I would do a larger tile, just because it's a kind of a cool tangle to play with a little slightly larger space. I've got my usual supplies here, including some things for highlight and shading, because I'm using a tan tile, so I can obviously make use of the highlight opportunities that affords. So let's get going. So we're going to start off with this tangle by drawing a line from kind of one spot in the tile to another, and this is going to kind of be the full length of our tangle. So I'm going to start from here and then do a kind of a curved line up this way towards the other corner. You can do a kind of a straighter line, that's absolutely fine. I thought I'd play with a little curve on this line today. And then from there, we're going to make these little branches that come off of our first sort of line that we've created. And it kind of looks like a little bit like a leaf, I suppose. These are all coming from the same point. So you have two branches coming off of your line, coming from the same point. And I'm going to make mine slightly smaller as they kind of progress up my central spine, like so. And you can fit in as many as kind of work for your tile or your space. And so once we've done that, we're then going to do a little bit of auraing of these lines here. So we're going to kind of create a lip, I suppose, around the edge of this spine that we've added. So I'm going to start here, just above this line here, and not touching the line. I'm going to start here and come around and have a nice aura that comes back down to this central line. And then I'm going to turn my tile and do the same thing here. So have a nice kind of consistent aura line here. So we're sort of auraing around the outside of this spine, but we're not touching the top of it here. And we're going to do that for all of these little offshoots that we've created from our central spine. Coming round the side, auraing down, and then coming to meet in the centre. I'm keeping my aura lines fairly consistent here. And coming down. And then finally here. You can obviously play around with making these auras larger. That would be a fun thing to do. I'm going to be fairly kind of low key with what I'm adding to this tangle, but there are all sorts of different ways that you can embellish it once you kind of become more confident with the pattern. And so once we've done this one, what we're going to do is we're going to come from this bottom point here of our spine where we began our line, and we're going to bring a line up from here, roughly to the corner here where we begin our aura. So we're going to come up and touch here, and then on this side up, and kind of bring the aura in to tether. Now, we're going to continue doing that same process, but we won't be starting from kind of the bottom part of this next section. We're going to start midway along our spine that we drew. So from here, I'm going to bring this in here, and from here, bring it up to the top here. And then I'm going to continue that further. As you can see, I'm sort of starting, I'm adding a bit of a curve to my lines, starting a little further in and then curving the line outwards, like so. And then at this last one at the top here, what we're going to do is start and sort of midway up again, but then bring it to the point at the end. And I might just add a little embellishment, a little curl. And that's going to come to the top to meet there. So you can see how this is starting to form a really cool kind of flowing snake-like pattern at this stage. So the next thing, after we've done that step, is to then kind of join these little auras, these hooked auras that we drew around the edges of these lines here. But we're going to come off from the corner of our first original spine and bring a line up here to this section here behind the lines we've just drawn. And if you need to, you can then just tuck those aura lines in to bring them to meet that line. So we left that gap there so we had space to add this line in at a later date, so we can now complete that aura if needed. So this is just tucking behind this section here, like so. You see that one, I didn't really need to add that kind of little hook in to complete the aura line. And the same there and here as well. So that is kind of the main bulk of the pattern. In the official step out, we also add a few extra little bits and pieces to kind of add some boldness. So I'm going to add a little bit of ink into these corners here, as per the step out. And I think that it's possible to embellish this further if you wish to. So I'm going to add a couple of little embellishments. In the step out, there is kind of an inky sort of pointed square along this point here. Feel free to check out the step out if you haven't seen it already. It'll be on Zentangle HQ's website, and I can link to that in the description below for you. So there's the inky kind of spaces that I'm going to add. And then I'm going to have a little play around with what, some different embellishments. So I think what I'll do is I'll just add some little curves down this central spine. So starting a little bit bigger, but you can play around with whatever works for you in your tile in your pattern. And I'm just going to add those in here. And now I can begin adding some shade and some highlights, which I think really brings this particular pattern to life. So I'm going to grab my, you can use your Zentangle pencil. I've got my General's Layout pencil here, and I'm going to add a nice chunk of shade into the bottom here, where this kind of section tucks in within its neighbour, right along that whole initial kind of stem that we grow out of our spine. And I'm going to just pop a little bit behind here as well, and obviously when we come to blend it in, it will all start to kind of create this really interesting depth. So adding that here. Plenty of shade. I do like to be quite bold with my shading. Adding that in along these edges where things disappear behind other things. Like so. And I will grab my tortillon and I will just take away the harsh lines of that shade. Blend in those deeper shadows and soften the lines that I placed down. Really, I like with my shading to just take away the harsh edges of any graphite or pencil that I've placed down on the tile, just to soften those harsher lines, because I like to leave that bold line of graphite against where I want things to be the darkest. So softening all of this, and you can really see it starting to kind of come to life now, and these sections are falling behind each other and sort of, or emerging, I suppose, from within each other is the illusion that we're creating. So just softening that, and then I'm going to pick up my white chalk pencil and add a touch of this to this top section of each of these little these parts to the tangle. I'm going to just add actually one little bit at the bottom here as well. So adding in this white chalk pencil to the top sections, and I feel like this tangle has a lot of opportunities for developing and adding more embellishments and using it almost as a real reticular for pattern. I have seen it drawn by other people, but I hadn't actually tried it myself until just before I recorded this video. So I am excited to have a bit of an experiment with it and play around and see what we can create. It's a really fun one. I always enjoy a new pattern, especially a new HQ pattern. So it's going to be fun to have a little play around with this one. So there's some white chalk, which is really making that pop. And then very finally, I'm going to just add some white jelly roll just to kind of make the highlights pop out. So I'm going to add some within this aura line here. Nice and gently, just adding a line of this jelly roll into my aura. And that's really going to make that top lip pop out. Like so. I may also just add a little bit to my central orbs, or central kind of embellishments that I added. Hadn't really thought what I was gonna add to this, but it was a bit of on a whim that I added those. So I might just add a few bits to make those pop out a little more. Just adding my jelly roll. So this is already looking really cool, I think. I'm going to just add a touch of graphite to one side, I think, of these central embellishments and see how this looks. And then I'm going to go back in with my jelly roll in a second. So let's see how this comes together. Sort of making it up as I go along a little bit here. And I'll just add it to the top one as well. Here we are. And then I'm going to just add some spots of the jelly roll down this central area. To see how that looks. I think this is going to look kind of nice. I'm just going over the top of that central spine as well that I added. Obviously, if you wanted to, I suppose you could use a pencil line to do that central spine if you wanted to add, you know, these central orbs. I think adding a pencil line is sometimes not thought of as being the Zentangle way, but I mean, you can do whatever you want. The Zentangle police are not going to come and tell you off for having your pencil line to start with, but I think that looks pretty effective. So there we go. This is a brand new Zentangle HQ tangle called Trikl. It's called Trikl, Trikl. And I hope that you've enjoyed this little video, stepping that out for you. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe to my channel. I would love to see you again for the next video, and I'll be stepping out some more videos in the coming days and months. So don't forget to follow along. You can also follow me on Instagram at ivies_corner_arts, and don't forget to tag me or share the hashtag #IviesCorner to let me see what you've got up to after following this video. So thank you so much for watching today, and I will see you next time.